Welcome to the halftime report here on Bear Football, part of the Barroom Network. John Buffone alongside Danny Shimon and Coach T. The Bears are currently tied with the New Orleans Saints, 14-14. Had a chance to go up 17-14, but missed a field goal late in the second half. Overall, not a bad half for the Chicago Bears. Offense is looking efficient. Let's go around the horn and get some initial reactions. Danny, I'll start with you, and then we'll go to you, Coach.
Yeah, offense comes out. Obviously, Tyson Bagent come out there with a quick game. Particularly Darnell Mooney, getting a ball in his hands and letting him go up the field, making some big plays there. You know, the connection with him and Cole Kmet are developing here quickly, similar to the connection that Justin Fields has with Cole Kmet. The 2 touchdowns. That first one was I tweeted out, might have been the prettiest play on offense this all season, with Bagent going to his left, throwing back across the field, which is not advised for quarterbacks. But nice touch, feather throw there. Kmet goes up, makes a great play. And obviously the second touchdown, another one. The one thing about Bagent is he has nice touch to be able to kind of feather the ball over that second level defender and get it to his receiver. So, and I think another big thing here that they're using here with Bagent is his legs. You see him rolling out a lot. You see him, some RPOs, hold on to the ball, getting some big first downs with his legs. So, some of the same game plan that we've seen with Justin going here with Tyson Bagent. And again, Deontay Foreman, I think he's taking the lead here in terms of being the back here, the starting back here. Even when Khalil Herbert comes back, I think there should be an equal balance in terms of 50-50 ball carrying, sharing opportunities between him and Khalil Herbert. So looking good defensively. Again, just third down, hard for them to get off the field, even with Montez Sweat in there getting some limited reps. We saw put a lot of pressure on Carr with what he does best, which is the power rush, speed to power, converting that over, bullying that offensive line back into Derek Carr, moving him a little bit, but Carr was still able to get rid of the football. So defensively, they still cannot get pressure on the quarterback without providing a blitz. So the one highlight for me defensively is Jack Sanborn, one of the more instinctive, better linebackers on this team, and the fact that he gets pulled off on certain downs really bothers me. I think this is a guy that needs to start, and he does start, but he needs to play more and more downs for me. So overall, a pretty good half, considering that you're going to a hostile territory with the Saints in the Superdome. They're a very, very tough team to beat at home. So tied at the half is not a bad thing to be at.
Hey, Coach, what do you think about how they're using Bagent right now, how they're rolling him out, moving the pocket, and trying to get him some easy throws, but also just kind of relying on a lot of the yak yardage, as we saw with some Darnell Mooney passes? What do you see out there?
Yeah, I have to take a step back and give credit to Luke Getsy, right, for finally settled into the identity of this team, right? And I'm going to get into it probably in the post-game show. I've been calling for more 12-plus personnel, 12, 13, 21, 22 personnel to helping out with the blocking scheme. So on the first touchdown to Cole Kmet, we was in 12 personnel or 21 personnel. Second touchdown, we're in 22 personnel. That's how we have to play ball, moving them out of the pocket. This is the identity of this football team. If you want to be competitive as a Chicago Bears offensive football team, you have to play 12-plus personnel. Kind of scared the shit out of me coming out in the first game again, empty formation or empty sets. I didn't know if this was going to try to be the identity of our game, but Luke settled in the game. Tyson's playing well, throwing the ball, putting the ball in good places, making smart plays. I was a little bit concerned about the play before half because we couldn't have took a sack right there, a sack strip to keep us in position to make the field goal right there. The interception I called in the pregame show, Tyson, the scouting report on him is he likes to throw the ball to the flat when in trouble, where his interceptions will come in the flat, right? The right flat particularly, right? So we just got to continue to play ball. Luke, stay with the multiple tight ends and running back sets. Stay out of 11 personnel as much as possible, as much as you can stand it, and to see if we can have this defense step up. I was concerned in pregame how much Matt Eberflus would try to go back to a traditional Tampa 2 defense and rush forward now that we signed Montez Sweat, or if he would continue to dial up pressure. Admittedly, I got to pay more attention to the defense and the blitz. I didn't see a whole lot to have, but I would prefer him again rather than wholesale transition and stop what he's been doing on defense. Slowly integrate Montez instead of wholesale changing the defense.
Let's look over Tyson Bagent's stats right now, because he's 10 of 13 for 149 yards. He has the 2 touchdowns, had that bad interception, but he's also carried the ball 6 times for 60 yards. Now, it'd be easy to say those weren't exactly designed runs, but he is making the right decision when he sees a crease and he goes for it. Danny, what do you think as far as his decision making so far this game, including that bad interception? But he's also tucking the ball and running it when he sees an opening there.
Yeah, in terms of the positives, yeah, there's his legs, and I said when he first was put in as a starting role, I'm like, this guy is more athletic than people think of, so he's a guy that can run. Obviously not the athlete that Justin is, but he can use his legs, as we saw in that first half, get some big chunks there and get big first downs, get himself out of trouble. The negatives is that the interception was, again, I think that's his 3rd or 4th interception so far, and he stares down the receiver. He was staring down. Cole Kmet allowed the off coverage corner to kind of jump in there and pick that ball off. So he kind of baited him into that throw. So that's something he's going to have to get over. You can kind of chalk us up to rookie mistakes. Just the one thing you want to do is see if he learns from these mistakes and doesn't repeat them. So far, I've seen that same mistake a couple of times already in a couple of different games. So we'll see if he picks that up and gets coached out of that habit. But yeah, in terms of the sacks, again, another thing that kind of Justin was getting killed for was holding on to the football way too long. And that last drive, that sack by Cameron Jordan, that was him holding on to the football way too long. That produced a sack by Cameron Jordan on that 3rd down where he kind of scrambled for his life. Looked like he lost about 10 yards and came back around and then threw the ball away. Again, just got to get rid of that football. You got to know you're down in distance, know the situation here. Unfortunately, the field goal was missed, but again, he has got to be able to get rid of that football. That's his strength right now. Read the defense pre-snap, and then I operate or function and adjust post-snap as well. So I think that's get the ball out of your hands. Don't hold on to the ball. Don't get too confident there back there. I did like Braxton Jones. I know he's been we worked back in with Larry Barroom. I think when he was in there, I think he looked solid. So hopefully Braxton Jones can get back up to in terms of game shape and all that stuff and take the full-time snaps. So I think that would just help solidify the offense line. Now there was, I think, a couple snaps back there where Bajan had about, I counted about 7 seconds. I mean, obviously it's TV copy, so I counted about 7 seconds back there too. He basically had a year compared to other quarterbacks have back there. So to get rid of football, and he either got rid of it, just threw it out of bounds, or was able to find a receiver later on. So I think that's a positive we could take into the next this second half and see if the offensive line, if Braxton Jones can get more snaps underneath them, continue to protect them, and continue to move the ball down the football field.
Coach, would you make any adjustments offensively moving forward? Because they were able to get in the end zone twice. But is there anything that you would tweak going into the second half? Because I'm sure that the Saints defense will try to make an adjustment, maybe try to contain Bagent on the edges, because they're having a lot of success off of play action. Yeah. But as we saw against Denver, they started sealing those edges a little bit later in the second half, and they were kind of catching on to that.
That's a great call out, John. So expect the Saints to seal up the edges, right? Start sending defense or edge rushers straight off the edge to seal up that play action. So, but I want to take a step back. When we call for more run friendly offense for Justin Fields. This is what we're talking about, the boot action. And although they're not design runs, they're really an option to throw and an option for you to run. You have the option. And I like the game plan. I think he has to have his countermeasures off of this play action, boot action. I don't think he should boot so much and maybe go straight, drop back off the play action, but also maybe go a little split zone and have that tight end cut underneath off the split zone and run the ball off of that. But we have to be careful when throwing the balls to the flats. Again, the scouting report is Tyson's going to throw the ball to the flat no matter what. And that's going to cause teams to go heavy cover 3, cover 2 zone. That's the beater for us right now. We have to continue to attack the seams, intermediate, deeps, and keep pushing the ball. And then as we get later in this game, listen, this is what you do in offensive football. In a tight game, at some point, you as an offensive coordinator, you have to decide, I'm going to run the ball and stick with it. So Corey Blasingame might have got banged out. It's going to be interesting to see if he can come back and play. But when we're in the defensive struggle like that, you have to take over the line of scrimmage and run the game. And as somebody J2K just said it in the chat, you have Darnell, right? And Tevin Jenkins on that right side of the offensive line. Bring Mercedes Lewis in and start pounding the ball. Tight games, it's a coaching ism to start running the ball at some point because it's a tight ball game. Control the clock, get out of here with a W.
And
Danny,
as much as throwing the ball down the field to Donald Mooney or DJ Moore looks pretty, it's even prettier when guys at the offensive line are mauling defenders and you have Dante Foreman running for 15, 12 yards. It just wears down that just beats the defense down and it just kind of takes their soul out of them. So I think that's going to continue doing that.
Mm-hmm. Danny, we got a couple minutes left before the second half starts. What would you change if there is anything to change defensively? But try to get off the ball, try to get off the field on third down.
The same thing I've been saying all year, John. Blitz. Even when Montez put in there, they're not getting to him with 4 guys. Blitz, bring pressure. Derek Carr is a veteran, but you can get to him, and you can get to him. He's not a really great mobile quarterback. Bring pressure in his face. Blitz at A gap. Blitz him. That's all 3 levels of defense. But disguise your coverages and just bring pressure.
I was going to say real fast, conversely, watch a check for New Orleans to do what I just said as well, to come out and start trying to pound the rock and run the ball because they're a heavy, low 11 personnel team. Traditionally, they go multiple tight end sets. Traditionally, that's been their MO. They've kind of gotten away from this versus us. Maybe they thought they could throw the ball over the field versus us, but watch for them to do whoever gets to the established run first, look out.
Danny, who's a guy that you're going to keep your eye on in the second half, whether it's offense or defense? Who do you think needs to step up in the second half?
Well, offensively, I want to see Braxton Jones back in there. I want to see if he can take more snaps and continue to protect that blind side of the quarterback. And then defensively, again, we'll see what Eberflus does here in terms of will he provide more pressure, or is he going to stay stubborn and just sit back and let Derek Carr and company kind of matriculate themselves down the football field and continue putting up points on his defense.
How about you, Coach? You got a spotlight on anybody you're looking at in the second half?
I'm gonna pay more attention to the defense side of the ball this time, this half. I feel like the offense has a handle on things. Again, if we go to running the ball, we'll be fine. I want to see how Matt Eberflus adjusts on the defensive side of the ball. Like Danny said, if he starts dialing it up a little bit more, we'll see how it goes. All of them, safeties, corners. I want to see how it comes on the defensive side of the ball. Adjustments.
Bring this in.
Yeah. And Danny, that was that right before we get out of here. I was whenever Taysom Hill goes back into the shotgun, he's playing quarterback. What goes through a defensive mind? What do you have to do whenever you see this is a guy that could be running the ball, he could be passing the ball? What's the thought process?
Chances are more than likely he's going to be running the ball. So I'm thinking quarterback power. I mean, if he throws the ball, that's going to be, if he beats you with throwing the ball, all right, I tip my cap up to him. Yeah, you beat me, but he's not going to run the ball into my defensive linemen. So that's what I'll do. I'll just attack that ball. The ball carrier, it's probably going to be him. And then they're putting Kalen Samuels in front of him, that big defensive lineman in front of him as a lead blocker as well. So it's going to be him there. So I just
penetration.
Penetration.
He's coming in to run a quarterback power. The killer for quarterback power is penetration.
All right, fellas, second half just kicked off. Don't forget, as soon as the clock hits 000 in the fourth quarter, we'll be back to give you analysis on the entire game. We'll be back on the post-game show here on Bear Football on the Barroom Network. We'll see you after the game.